Greetings acolytes and welcome to the archives. Before we begin today's video, I have a question. You want to buy some death sticks? Drug trafficking is one of the most lucrative industries in the Star Wars galaxy, rivaled only by the illegal weapons trade. Many crime lords in the seedy underworld thrive off of dealing drugs like death sticks and spice to those who are willing to pay for it. With many wars happening in each era, the Jedi and Sith constantly fighting for power no one understands, the very life and stability of the galaxy being at stake nearly every generation, or perhaps just good old-fashioned Imperial oppression. All of these things bring the galaxy's desperate who are trying to escape their problematic lives into a death stick addiction. But exactly what are death sticks? We hear about them and how dangerous they are. Even the drug itself doesn't mind sharing the risks in its very name. So today, my friends, our holocrons will actually remain on the shelf, as we'll be traversing the underlevels of Coruscant and every black market to find out for ourselves why you don't want to buy death sticks. By the way, if you enjoy this dive and want to see us cover the illicit substances of Star Wars such as spice, be sure to light up that subscribe button and let us know. Now acolytes, let us begin. Now, to the high ground we go. Let's begin with actually talking about what death sticks are, as it's easy to mistake them for something like cigarettes. Let it not be thought that death sticks were anything less than a very dangerous and an addictive narcotic. When first taking the death stick drug, it acts as a mind hallucinogen, improving the colors of the world around you while inducing a state of euphoria. While some users of the drug could just stop here and just enjoy a death stick every now and then, in order to take the edge off, it has a frightening effect on causing the user to want more out of their high. With each dose, the desire for a harder reaction is increased. This in turn made them want to take another hit, and ingest a second, and then a third, and so on. Increased doses of death sticks cause the world around you to warp into a completely distorted reality enhanced by bright colors. Of course, in the urban city of lights such as Coruscant, this was a popular desired outcome. But as for the namesakes of the drug itself, each dose shortened the lifespan of the user, with regular, consecutive doses subtracting larger chunks of one's life. When caught in the cycle of addiction, death sticks could kill users faster than almost any other substance in the galaxy. In the case of Force sensitives, it was known to weaken one's connection to the Force itself whenever they were in a state of active addiction. It was nearly impossible to break a death stick addiction also without medical intervention, and rehab rates usually went for around 2,500 to 3,500 credits. Death sticks are usually packaged in glowing tubes of what appears to be yellow or red liquid. Though it came in a variety of different colors to entice would-be addicts, the liquid form of death sticks can be ingested by drinking it straight from the tube, but more popular methods of taking it usually involve mixing it in a drink or a needle injection. Death stick spiked drinks would usually involve pouring the contents of the tube into alcohol in order to create a mixture commonly referred to as fizzy glug, because of how the death sticks made the drink fizz and bubble up. Supposedly, this method gave partakers more of a rush. This kind is shown to be offered to Obi-Wan by the individual known as Elan Sleeza Bagano. However, there is another form that the drug comes in. If not in liquid form, the other version is dried granules, either wrapped in paper or a bag. This one actually can be smoked, or it can be crushed and then snorted. The problem with death sticks is that not only were they incredibly easy to come across, but they were very cheap to make. This in turn made them the most affordable drug on the market. The primary ingredient in death sticks is a chemical fluid known as Ixatal Kelowna, which actually comes from a unique species of mushroom that grows exclusively on the core planet of Balasar. The world of Balasar was suffering from horrific amounts of pollution due to a factory plant. The pollution on the urban planet was so bad that hardly any wildlife grew at all, and the natives of the world ended up genetically adapting to be resilient to the forms of toxin. The only plant that seemed to actually thrive in this terrible wasteland was a curious fungus known as the Balo mushroom. This mushroom was a direct product of the pollution on the planet, but nevertheless, it was treated as a delicacy by the world for a moment, being served as a popular dish when sautéed. However, its hallucinogenic properties were soon discovered when a Balo mushroom was refined into the chemical itself. The companies that ran Balasar were Biotech Industries and another known as Fergus Pharmaceuticals, and with the discovery of a brand new drug, they began production of the death sticks. The drugs were carried out all over the galaxy, at first focusing in the Outer Rim, as well as distributed by the Coruscant dealers. dealers who went by the name of Scythemongers. But the people of Balasar suffered the most from the death stick addiction since it was manufactured on their world. Trying to escape the pollution, a massive wave of the population got addicted to the substance. They were able to not have to worry about being poisoned because of the fact that they had built up a toxin resistance. However, despite the immunity from the deadly components, Balasars were not immune to the addictive properties of death sticks. And because of this, and their world's natural dangers, Balasars had a relatively short lifespan compared to similar species. To this very day, death sticks are considered to be the single worst devastation of the entire society, having killed massive chunks of the population. Despite being highly illegal in the days of the Republic, death sticks were still manufactured by biotech industries and pharmaceuticals by growing the balo mushrooms in special labs and then refining them into many factories. They were making so much money off of the trade that the companies could simply buy off politicians and make galactic authorities look the other way. Not to mention, they had the backing of several terribly powerful crime organizations such as the Hutts and the Black Sun. Soon, the death stick trade became so large that it was the main competitor for the spice trade from the Pikes. The cult known as the Bando Gora, led by Dooku's former Padawan Komori Vosa, would actually begin distributing tainted death sticks that were potent in order to brainwash victims into joining the organization. These brain-dead and obedient servants would be forced to become assassins and soldiers for the cause before they were stopped by none other than Jango Fett. By the time of the Galactic Empire, Balasar was pretty much completely free to manufacture it in the open, as the Empire actually brought large quantities of the drug to be used in interrogation methods. Speaking of which, Darth Maladi would later use the chemical drug during her own torture sessions in order to gain more information from her victims. And we regret to inform, but death sticks actually would thrive well into the Legacy era after Luke. After the destruction of the Jedi Temple by the hands of the one Sith, Luke's descendant Cade Skywalker would become a bounty hunter and would become addicted to death sticks. Cade was plagued by memories and visions from Luke's Force ghost, his ghost who pleaded with him to take up the Skywalker legacy and fulfill his destiny to help the Jedi, or at least try to make something of himself. However, Cade Skywalker was traumatized by the death of his father and the ruin of the Jedi. Cade used death sticks as a way not only to escape, but to intentionally cut himself off from the Force, for the sole reason that he would not see the ghost of Luke or Anakin. However, despite his best efforts, Cade would still be strong, and in some cases, Luke, Anakin, and even Cade's father would still be able to reach him while he was high. Luke begged Cade to stop, but he would not listen, taking more and more bounties in order to afford more of the drug. Luke desperately tried to get him to stop, telling him that the death sticks were slowly killing him. On one occasion, Cade had gone on a huge death stick binge and saw terrifying visions of a flaming Anakin slowly transforming into Vader while commanding him to get his head back into gear. The two would have a brief lightsaber duel that Cade would lose, and at the end, he found himself going into an overdose, accepting his death. He had no idea if the spirit of Anakin had come to bring him to the afterlife, or if he was hallucinating. But what wasn't a hallucination was Jedi Master Kakruk, who used Force healing to flush the toxin out of Cade's body and stop him from dying. Unfortunately, that wasn't the last of Cade's death stick use though, but he would slowly begin to pull back once confronting the one Sith. In all, galactic opinion and culture towards death sticks seem to vary widely depending on the population. It seems the more involved with the underworld you were, such as with Jango, the more you knew to stay away from death sticks. But that didn't stop some stormtroopers and Imperials from having an occasional death stick after a workday to take the edge off. But then of course, there were others who were hopelessly addicted, causing their lives to be utterly destroyed. In canon, another one of Dooku's apprentices, Rael Averross, was an avid death stick user, but would only use them when he found himself needing to calm down. He and Cade seemed to be the only Jedi that were addicted to them, and of course they were forbidden among the Jedi Order. So my friends, what do you think? Have you ever wondered what death sticks really were? Perhaps if we were suddenly to enter the Star Wars universe, there are a lot of different foods and drinks we would want to try. But as for death sticks, perhaps we should just go home and rethink our life. As always, my friends, thank you for visiting the archives today, and may the Force be with you.